Today we're going to experiment with making a mantel clock using this mold and a couple different techniques. So we are going to start making waves using UV resin, and we'll do that with this hard type UV resin by Let's Resin. And we're going to start with some waves, and I'm going to make a wave about where that line is, right here, right below that little circle there. So I'm going to put the UV resin into this little mixing cup here. Don't need a lot for the waves. I'm only going to do the one row in the middle there and maybe two smaller waves a little bit towards the top. So again, we're playing just to see what we get here. And let's go ahead and put some resin into the mold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some UV resin in here along the line that I want to blow the wave into. So I'm just going to make a relatively thin line, and we'll do one up here and we'll do another here on the other side. The beautiful thing about UV resin is it doesn't start to cure until you hit it with the UV lamp, so we don't have to worry about having to work quickly with this. This part we can take our time on, so that's always a good thing. And then I'm going to mix up the white for the wave after I hit this with a little bit of heat. This will not only get the bubbles out of the resin, but it will also warm up that resin. So when I go to blow the waves forward, hopefully they'll blow out nicely and will leave some cells. This is the first time I've done this with UV resin, so making waves, that is. So I'm going to use this Alumilite white, and I'll mix that into the resin here in the little cup. Don't want to put too much in there. We just want a dash, because if you put too much white, then the resin will be too thick and heavy and it won't blow out nicely. So let's go ahead and get a little bit on our stir stick here. And that's going to be probably too much. You really just need a dab. But we'll play and see what we get. So I'm just going to stir this in. Make sure that I get it mixed well. And I want it to be a little runny. And it's runny. It should be okay. We'll see. So I saw Michelle do this on Glitz and Glitter. She made it look super easy, so we'll give this a try. All right, let's go ahead and heat this up a little bit, given that I waited a minute before I mixed my resin. So I just want to get this a little bit warm, so when I go to blow the resin with the straw, that resin I'm blowing into will be nice and warm, and hopefully, like I said, it should form some nice cells and blow a little bit easier. It's not going to work as well if the resin is cold. My room temperature is about 77, so I could have put the UV resin in a warm bath, but I don't think that that's necessary. So I'm just going to spread this out. We'll do a relatively thin line here. We'll add a couple extra lines over the top just so we can have some variation. Again, this is something that you have to play with, and eventually you'll figure it out, and you'll know exactly what you need to do to get your waves to work. I probably should have started a little bit below that line, but I wanted everything below that line to be sand. That might be a little high. I don't know. We'll see. That's my favorite saying for the day. We'll see. Whenever we're experimenting and playing, it's just fun. And when you go to make one of these for somebody else or for yourself that you really, really want to be perfect, then first time is practice, second time is perfection, right? Says the perfectionist. All right, so I got my lines. Next, I'm going to take the straw And I'm just going to blow the resin forward. So I'll get you in a little closer. Ooh, got some lungs. Probably didn't need to blow quite that hard. Let's see what we get here. See if I can get that moved over a little bit to the side. That is a little challenging. And I'm going a little higher than I want to, but let's see if it drops down a little bit. I like the way this is turning out. All right, that's a good start. Now we'll take some starfish and some shells, and I'm just going to place them along that wave line. And I want to set them in the resin now because when I pour sand in here, the sand will move them and they have a tendency to want to float. So if I put them in now and I hit it with the UV lamp in a minute, they will stay in the sand and they won't float to the top, which would be actually the back of the mold. So this will be a little bit more clear when we demold it at the end. So I'm just going to set these. This will make the shoreline. And I'll take a couple of shells. And we'll go ahead and place some in there. And I'm actually going to look for some shells that I got from the Gulf of Mexico a couple weeks ago in Bonita Springs, Florida. The mold is fairly deep, so I'm not really worried about the shells protruding out of the back. All right, let's put this one in here. Courtesy of the beautiful Gulf of Mexico. And these are sitting in the resin. I'm already thinking the next time I'm going to come a little bit lower with these, but let's go ahead and hit these with the UV lamp. Yeah, we'll do this for about, say 3 minutes, and we'll come back and that should be set. All right, this should just about be done here. So let's go ahead and shut this off. Looks good. Let's tap it and see. Oh, it's set. So next I'm going to take and mix some sand in resin. Just got this from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to pour maybe about a third of this container full of sand. That's a lot of sand to fill. I'm already thinking I should have brought those shells down lower. And I'm using this little spoon because I don't want to get a bunch of dust from the sand floating all over inside of my mold. And I want to keep everything on screen so that you can see it. While we were waiting the 5 minutes, I also mixed up 10 ounces of epoxy resin. It is Let's Resin casting resin, 1-to-1 ratio by volume. So it means I mixed 5 ounces of hardener and 5 ounces of resin. Stirred them up for about 3 minutes and I let it set. Now it's been setting probably about a total of, maybe 5 or 6 minutes. So most of the bubbles are out of it. It's a nice resin to work with. So let's go ahead and mix this in, the resin into the sand. Again, I want it to be a real thick consistency. I'm going to end up having to put more sand in here, I can see right off the bat. So I want to make sure that I'm getting all of the resin mixed in with the sand at the bottom. And I'm just going to put a little bit more in here. Sorry, I'm shielding it from the mold because I want to keep the dust down. Again, the resin that's already in there is set, but this does create dust when you pour it, so let's go ahead and add some white mica powder by Let's Resin. That'll give it a nice white Florida beach sand appearance. At least Naples and Bonita Beach, our sands are pretty white. Kind of like you'd see in the Caribbean. And I'm going to add a little bit of this Glitz Brilliance glitter as well. This has like a little bit of a green blue hue to it, so it'll give this a really nice little glitter to it. All right, let's go ahead and pour this in. It is pretty thick. And I used to worry whether or not this would actually set. It sets, no problem. Cures in about 72 hours-ish. Just get this spread out across the whole bottom here. Sorry, I know my hand is in the way. I'm just scooping this out of here with my stir stick into the mold. And you want to bring it up to where it touches the bottom of the shells and the starfish. Those are already set in, so even if I completely covered them with sand, you'd still see them on the front. They are set in and they're not moving. They're not going to float. So good lesson number 1, use UV resin to set in your shells before you add the rest of your resin. At least when you are working from the back of the mold. When I do beach coasters, I'm actually working from the front of the mold. But here we're working from the back. And I want to get every last bit of that sand out of there. So that should work well. That's a pretty big sand line, but that's all right. Now we'll go ahead and we'll mix up our blue and our green. So we're going to start with this dark blue mica powder from Let's Resin. And I'm also going to use a sapphire blue dye. It's not alcohol ink, it's an actual dye. So this will be a little transparent, but the dye will help give it a little bit of a opacity to it as well. I'm just going to pour about 3 ounces into this, 2.5, 3 ounces into this cup. Not sure exactly what I'm going to need. The total mold holds about 10 ounces, I think, which is why I made 10 ounces. Do I want to put a starfish here? Oh, I know if I put that starfish there, that thing's going to float. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Maybe another little shell here. The problem with these shells is that they do like to float when you add the resin to them, and then you got to keep tapping them down. So I'm not sure I can make these ones that are not set already in the UV resin, the ones I'm setting in here now. I'm not sure I'll be able to keep those down into that sand line. They're probably going to float up. No harm, no foul if they do. You'll just see them on the back side. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. So let's go ahead and add in our blue, sapphire blue dye. I'm going to put about 10 drops in here. I want this to be relatively dark. And that is quite a bit of resin in there. Like I said, it's about 3 ounces. And if I have extra, I'll use it to make other things. And the mica. Just going to tap some in here. Again, I'm playing. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to need. I won't know until I start stirring everything together. All right, let's go ahead and pour some of this at the top. Sometimes I let this set longer so it starts to thicken, and I didn't really do that this time. So the blue and the green, when I pour them in, are probably going to run together more than I want them to. And there's bubbles in there. You can see them popping. We're going to use the sky blue dye and sky blue mica powder and spring green mica powder for the turquoise. And again, we're going to use the Glitz Brilliant glitter. Just a little dab. I didn't put it in the blue, so I added it to the blue this time. And when I do the pour over again with that blue up top there, the glitter will mix. So if you forget, it's all is not lost. So now I'm adding again about 10 drops of sky blue. This is definitely going to fill over the sand on the back, and that's okay. You won't even notice it. So what you'll see on the back will be blue and green. You won't see the sand. I'm going to add a little bit of sky blue in here. So there's sky blue mica powder, spring green mica powder, and sky blue dye. And all of this will be in the description. So there's the spring green mica powder. Gosh, I'm kind of just liking the blue. All right, let's add a little more sky blue. I want it to be a little bit more turquoise, bluey, tealy, whatever that color is. Terrible with my color, you guys. Oh, I like that. Now that's a little bit more bluey than I wanted. Just because the deep part of the ocean is so dark blue. And this will push that blue up, by the way. As I'm pouring this in, it'll move the blue. And it will just sit on top of the sand because the sand is so heavy. Oh, I bet you're thinking there's not going to be any blue by the time she's done. But you'll be surprised. I was going to stop and leave a sand line, but I think I'm just going to because there's a lot of room left in the mold. I'm just going to go ahead and probably end up filling this with green and blue. And I'll use the blue to push some of the green back. You know, you're thinking, wow, this is going to be a mess on the other side. But it really won't be. This is going to end up being maybe about 2/3 full when I'm done pouring all of the resin in here. Again, I'm just playing and experimenting with this, and I already know what I'm going to do differently the next time. But we'll talk about that at the end when we see the result. I'm going to blend this all in. So I'm not worried about how the green goes in. The green blue goes in. Let's see if I can push some of this green out a little. And see the sand again. No, that's not going to work. That's all right. I'm filling the mold and I'm pushing that green up again anyway, so I need to get more resin in here, so it's about 2/3 full. But I don't want to push the green so far up that I lose too much of the blue either. And I can see my starfish floating and my shell floating on the right hand side. When I get my hand out of the way, I'll show you. See on the right, there's the starfish and one of the shells. So these are the ones I added after the fact. All right, we are done for today. I'm going to let this set for the evening and we will come back tomorrow. Gosh, excuse me. And we are back. It's been 24 hours. This has an interesting look. So remember how I said that the micas tend to have this like pitting kind of look if you look at the green? I've mixed up some more resin. Again, this is just the casting resin by Let's Resin. And I'm just going to fill in the back of this and take this to the top margins of the mold. So we're just filling this all in. So my blue swirls came out really nice, but I don't like the way that green looks on the bottom, that kind of tealy green. Maybe we'll come back tomorrow after this sets, or maybe in 4 hours, we'll see. And we'll see what this looks like. So the great demolding. All right, this is a self-leveling resin. So as long as my surface is level, this will spread out nice and evenly. I'm going to hit it with some heat here in a second and get out any bubbles that are remaining. I don't worry about bubbles a whole lot when I'm working with beach scenes or coastal scenes because, as you've heard me say before, there are bubbles in the ocean. There are bubbles in water. I'm just going to run this dotting tool around the margins a little bit just to make sure that it's adhering, that the resin's adhering to the sides properly. Otherwise, you'll get sharp edges. All right, let's go ahead and put a little bit of heat on this. I could use my torch, but I'm going to use my long neck lighter instead. You could spritz this with alcohol. All right, let's give this 24 hours and I'll see you back for the demolding. See you back. All right, it's the next day. Now we have the great reveal. See what we get here. I'm a tad nervous, but today is experiment time. The next time is perfection. So I will do a part 2. See if I can get this off of here. And I may have to sand the edges a little bit to make it nice and smooth. Almost there. This thing just does not want to come out of here. Come on. Oh, I'm liking the blue. All right, are you guys ready? A little bit of Sharpie edges. All right. Wow, that actually turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to. So the blue is gorgeous. The green is not a sharp teal green or blue green like I thought it would be. It's actually more smooth. The sky blue came through. Don't like the ocean waves at the top. Oh, sorry about the camera there. Don't like the ocean waves at the top. They did spread out. But the waves at the bottom are good. Again, the next time I think I'll go below that line where the shells are. So the sand, I'll go a little bit lower. And I think I'm going to line this with silver up at the top. I wasn't going to line it, but I think I will. And then the waves, oh, again, this is where I should have gone below. Yeah, I got to do something with those. Lesson learned. So when you're looking at it from the back, you don't really see quite the impact of that. So I'm going to make my waves a little bit lower the next time. So the sand will finish right at the base or the neck there, the bottom of the neck. I have 2 clock faces that I can put in here. So let's look at those. So this is the silver. I love that white sand. And then there's the gold. I'm kind of a silver girl. I think I like the silver better. I think I'll save the gold for the floral one. Now I'm going to take a chrome marker from Let's Resin, and I'm going to line the top part of this a little bit with a metallic mirror-like marker. And let's see if we can hide those. See if we can hide those waves at the top there a little bit. Just going to go over this carefully. You may not be able to see the silver. It may all look like white to you, but at the end, when you see the final picture, you'll be able to see it. And I won't do it here in the video, but I am going to line the bottom as well. So when you see the final picture, you'll see all of the metallic lines. And see from the side, you can see the split sand and the turquoise and the blue. Not bad. But I already know what I'm going to do differently. I'm going to do the sand and set the sand the next time. and then do the blue and the green, blue and the turquoise. So I think that that will work. I'm actually going to take that silver metallic line and go up another layer on that for the finished product, but I'll do that off camera. So all in all, I think it turned out really well for the first time. Again, my shells are set. You can't see the ones that were floating. I'm going to take that a little bit lower the next time. So let's take a look at the finished product and see what you all think. So here we have it. So I lined the silver a little bit higher. I love the dark blue. I love, love, love it. And the white beaches, the white beach sand. And then I did a silver metallic stripe on the bottom. So there's our finished product, guys. I hope you like it. Some good learnings for the next time. So thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I always appreciate the thumbs up and the likes. Please leave me your comments and feedback, and I want to see your pictures when you start making things as well. Have a good one, everybody. Until the next time.